Teachers, what's the most heartbreaking thing a student has ever confided in you? It was my 13th year teaching high school when one student changed me forever. Max was quiet but brilliant, his essays always showing depth beyond his years. I could tell something was going on at home, but he never opened up despite my gentle questions. Halfway through senior year, he started missing classes. His work became erratic. When he did show up, he looked exhausted with dark circles under his eyes. I tried talking to him, but he'd just say he was fine, just tired. One day, I asked him to stay after class to discuss his missing assignments. He stared at the floor and didn't say anything. For a full minute, I was about to dismiss him when he suddenly said, "My mom died 2 months ago, but no one knows." I sat down completely stunned. I asked where his father was. He shrugged and said he left when I was 3. I haven't seen him since Max. Then explained in the flattest voice that his mom had cancer, but couldn't afford treatment as a single parent, working 2 jobs. She made him promise not to tell anyone because she was terrified of child services taking him. She died in their apartment and he'd been living alone for 8 weeks, teaching himself to forge her signature paying bills with her last paychecks and pretending everything was normal. He'd been skipping school some days because the electricity got shut off and he couldn't wash his clothes. He was embarrassed to come in dirty. He was 17, just 5 months from graduation and legal adulthood. He'd been keeping this secret, taking care of himself because he was afraid of being put in foster care and losing the only home he had left. When I asked why he was telling me, now he said simply because the rent is due next week and I don't have enough money. I left my classroom door open all day, every day. After that, I wanted to make sure that if any student needed to talk, they'd see an open door. Max told me later that was why he chose me, because I seemed approachable. I didn't cry in front of him, but I called our principal immediately after he left. We got social services involved, but fought to keep him in our school district. Our principal actually took emergency guardianship of Max until graduation. Our school rallied around him in ways that still make me emotional to think about the cafeteria. Staff made sure he always had food to take home. The basketball coach gave him the gym assistant job so he'd have spending money. A few teachers, including me, took turns driving him home after school activities. The school counselor found Max's father, who wanted nothing to do with him. What kind of person hears their child is alone and says, "Sorry, not my problem?" We found out later that Max had been sleeping in the school library during his free periods, catching naps between classes. Because he was working nights at a gas station, trying to make enough for rent, he'd hide in the bathroom until the janitors left, then sleep on the couch in the reading corner. Max graduated with honors, but the most heartbreaking part wasn't his story. It was what he said at graduation when he thanked me, "Miss Johnson. I wasn't going to make it to graduation day. I had a plan for when the money ran out, but you asked me to stay after class." I realized then that by complete accident, I'd interrupted his suicide plan just by asking him to discuss missing homework. He's in college now on scholarship. I still keep in touch, but I'll never forget how close we came to losing him and how many other students might be silently carrying impossible burdens. I check in with my quiet students more often now. I notice when someone's clothes look worn, or when they're always hungry, or when their eyes have that hollow look. I make sure to have granola bars and clean hoodies in my classroom. Sometimes all it takes is asking twice. Sometimes all it takes is an open door. Sometimes all it takes is letting a kid know that someone sees them, someone would miss them, someone cares.